Seems like Loki has finally found his glorious purpose and his throne. And we are going to be discussing about the season 2 finale since the season has wrapped. You're listening to Elton Talks. I'm your host Elton, and joining me today is Divith as we discuss the entirety of Loki season 2. So, Divith, why didn't you share with us how did you get into the MCU? How were you brought into this cinematic universe?
My first interaction with the MCU was the first Avengers movie. I remember I was in the second grade when I went to see it in the theater, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was just blown away by I ironically blown away by what Joss Whedon did with that movie. Uh, but
So,
I mean,
what was
as
so
the
appealing about Avengers to you? Was it like the first team up, or was it something else? Had you read
yeah,
comics
first
before? Or...
comics, no, not interacted with comics at that age. But I mean, I had seen glimpses of Iron Man, Captain America. I was a huge Spider-Man guy. I still am.
Mm-hmm.
So like I was into superheroes. So
Okay,
Avengers like was a stepping stone into that. And as the years went on, I kind of became like a Marvel buff. And yeah, that's what started it.
nice, nice. So, what did you think of first of all the first season of Loki and the first 5 episodes of Loki season 2? Can you give us your thoughts on that?
Okay, season one, from phase four, I think was probably one of the best shows that was released by
Mm-hmm.
Marvel. I would WandaVision is still first.
Yes, for me
But
too.
I mean, yeah, Loki was. I mean, that season was really properly structured, and we got to see the human side of Loki as the show evolved. I mean, his evolution from where the season one began to where it ended, season two ended, is just like worlds apart, literally.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's one thing before I go on, like, what about season 2? How did you find season 2, the first 5 episodes? Was it boring? Was it slow? Because I don't think many people have got back onto season 2 despite Loki season 1 being the most watched Disney Plus, show. So what do you think of season 2? What could have held back viewers, or what brought you in, or what kept you, like, maybe this is not getting viewers in?
First five episodes, quality wise, were just amazing. I mean, I don't think I've seen such a complementing sound design or such a great screenplay in the show in any Marvel show till now.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have forced humor, you didn't have too much contrasting colors, not a lot of vibrance. The show was just true to what it was, Loki.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the drop in the viewers maybe was is because of the recent track record with Marvel,
Mm-hmm.
with debacle after debacle, and there's also a lot of negative publicity going on with variety articles and other publishing houses churning out
Right,
articles against Marvel.
right, right, right. So
Yeah.
yeah, I do see that point, but it's really surprising to see a show as popular as Loki season 1, which got the
Uh-huh.
most viewers, for season 2, which is so
Yeah.
cinematically rich in its cinematography, its score, everything, story, whatever. It drops in viewers so much, right? So it's really shocking to see that. But I must say, Loki
It's
season
shocking,
1,
but I think after Secret Invasion, people just canceled their Disney Plus subscription.
I mean, I was angry. I've never been angry at Marvel, even after Love and Thunder, even after Quantum Mania. But after
Yeah,
Secret Invasion, I was angry. I was like, what the hell are you doing? I do
exactly.
understand. I do understand the frustration, but I must say, Loki season 1 had a finale that I think is the best finale up till season 2. Season 2 tops it, in my opinion. But season 1 had the
Yeah.
best finale of all the Disney Plus Marvel shows. And as you said, a good structure, and the finale actually felt good. Unlike WandaVision, which kind of, slipped at its finale despite being a very good show. Falcon Winter Soldier had the
Yeah.
same issue, but Loki season 1, I think, stuck the landing and showed us the future of the MCU. And I must say,
Yeah.
season one was finale was the only episode that I rewatched like multiple times. I was so happy that I kept rewatching it, and that has happened
Uh-huh.
again with season 2. The amount
Yeah,
of times I've had to pause the episode to just reflect on how heavy this episode is and what all it's trying to convey. And then the amount of times I've rewatched it and just smile at my screen, it's like it's never happened. So Loki season 2 has definitely been a step up from season 1. And I think let's just get into it. What did we like about this finale? So first of all, the reverse logo, like they decided to start from the Marvel Studios title instead of starting from inside it and coming out. They came from the outside, like from Marvel Studios. They went in showing all these characters, and it was assisted with Natalie Hall's score, which was equally terrifying at the same time.
I mean, the whole season's caveat has been how it starts, how each
Mhm.
episode starts.
Oh yeah,
And I think, yeah, because we've seen Marvel diversify their starts with how the show plays with its theme and what the main story is. But I
yeah,
mean, with Loki, they had full creativity. I think they just went all out,
yeah, totally. I
and
love how
like it
the
was just
episode
yeah,
three's title card too worked with the kind of 1980s vibe and all that. I love that too. So yeah,
yeah,
they were much more
yeah.
diverse than anything else.
I know it was really beautiful to see.
Yeah. And starting with the time slipping, like episode 5 was obviously such an emotional episode that many people loved. The first episode of season 2 or
Uh-huh.
anything in recent MCU history to trend on Twitter was season two's episode 5, which obviously saw Loki getting back, getting his heroic quality, which was I can rewrite history. And we see that
Yeah,
happen in the first few minutes of this episode, assisted with the Beethoven's. I'm not sure what exact that is. I only know it's Beethoven, but I really loved it the way he was time slipping. And must I talk about the centuries later title card? I think after the 5 years later title card from Avengers Endgame, this has to be the one that must have given everyone shocks, pauses, and laughter.
I know. I don't know. It was like kind of passive aggressive, and it just makes you reflect on how much this guy values the relationship with the people around him. Because at the end of the
Hmm.
day, he's just doing it to save his friends. I don't think it's anything deeper than that. It's just his relationship with the people around him. And
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
I think.
centuries
Yeah.
later, yeah, just shows he's a god and he's using that title to the fullest.
Yeah, exactly. And I heard many reviewers calling episode 5 a filler episode, but I think episode 6 works so much because of episode 5. We saw him lose these characters once. We saw the time, unraveling around him, him losing his friends. I think that one slow episode was very essential to making this episode work, because now we know what he could lose if he didn't make, this kind of sacrifices, spending centuries learning just science. And that was really interesting. I think episode 5 really paved the way for episode 6 to be as fun and as emotional, as deep as it has been. And
Yeah,
also
completely agree with you.
the number of times he had to try, it was equally funny, frustrating, and
Uh-huh.
I don't know, I was like, okay, what is going on? Is this going to be the whole episode? How is it going to end? And when he reached the citadel at the end of time, and he who remains just was not that good version of Kang anymore, and he was like the loom was a failsafe. I was like, my god, this is the version of Kang we should have got all the time. He's equally he has spent so much of time at the end of time that he has this quality to him that he's joking about everything, but also he has everything planned out. Everything he anyone does, he who remains has paved the way for that. That brings me to the question, like, why did he pave this path? Why did he make Sylvie and Loki come to the city at the end of time? Why did he make Loki time slip? Was it all just to make Loki kill Sylvie? Or was it just that he needed some sort of entertainment and he brought two variants of Loki and made them fight each other? What exactly was his motive? I'm not able to put my finger on it, but I don't think
Hmm.
the show was focused on that either. So what did you think of that? Like when he said, "I paved the way for this to happen," what did you think was his motive behind doing this? Why did he do all this?
Um, Pave the way because I don't know, but as this variant is probably the most sinister variant of Kang we've seen till now,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a bit of sadism involved in that, but also a
Why not?
little bit of optimism.
Mm-hmm.
uh, because we know that he's a brilliant guy, and he was a scientist when he first started out,
Yeah.
and I think deep down he just wanted a way of someone to prove him wrong, of the multiverse to independently exist and not be just a mistake or a reaction to a bad decision. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a soft corner towards the other variants and their triumph to take over the timelines.
Hmm.
Not really sure. As you said, can't put a finger on it, and might get into a lot of, you know,
Theories.
theorizing and
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I must say though, he who remains from season one very down to earth. Like he actually made me think this is a very good version of Kang. But the way he
Uh-huh.
just twisted it in the season two finale, and he was like, "Yeah, I paved the way. I'm doing all this," and I was like, "Wow, that's really interesting take on Kang. Like even more interesting than Victor Timely or Kang the Conqueror that we got in Quantum Mania." But them
Yeah.
leaving that open to why did he actually do all this, or is it just a plot hole that will be fixed later? We don't know, but really interesting question. I think that Marvel should try to answer in their future projects. And moving on, like after that is revealed to him, Mobius and Sylvie, the scenes that he shared with Mobius and Sylvie, going back to the first episode of season one to talk to Mobius,
Uh-huh.
and going back
Yeah.
to episode five of season two to talk to Sylvie, helps him do what he does at the end of this episode, with Mobius saying that purpose is burden more than glory. A very good, way to destructure that glory's purpose dialogue. And Sylvie saying that
Yeah.
not everything needs to survive. And Loki going like, yeah, maybe we just start everything afresh and we find another way to it. And that brings us to, like, I think the most cinematically rich, beautiful. I just have no words. The cinematography, the look, and the way Loki transitioned himself into that classic Loki outfit, the long horns, the scene, the score,
Mhm.
everything worked in conjunction so well. And I think it
Yeah.
was a good 10-minute scene, but it didn't feel so. I just had my hands over my face, like, I was not able to believe what I was seeing. It was so damn good. And I don't think anything has come as close. Not even WandaVision's finale came close. Not even the entirety of WandaVision. And season two might just surpass WandaVision right now because of this finale. So,
Yeah.
what do you think of the glorious purpose of Loki?
Okay. I think he's no longer the god of mischief,
Definitely.
and they might just lead with the god of stories timeline, I think, for Loki. Maybe that
Mhm.
character arc. But as many people were, alleging, Loki eventually, ultimately, is he who remains now.
A very different version of EU remains, I must say, but definitely a version of EU remains. And there were also rumors going around that if you know about the Avengers Prime story arc for Loki, now I think that
Mhm.
is not possible. If he's just sitting at the end of time on a throne, holding all the timelines
Mhm.
together, giving it life, how is he going to be
Yeah.
Avenger Prime, going all to all these different realities, recruiting people? I think the leaks that we're hearing are very interesting, but how it all comes together, I'm not sure if it will
Yeah.
even come
That's
together.
where all the magic lives.
Yeah, that's where all the magic lives. And Glory's purpose, as we were just discussing before we got onto this recording, the parallels it has, right? Going right back to Avengers 1, where Loki says, I'm burdened with Glory's purpose, right to the season
Mhm.
one's title, season one, episode one title, which was Glory's purpose. And also in, I believe, season one's episode 5, where the classic Loki variant, played by Richard E. Grant, has the same dialogue, Glory's purpose, while he sacrifices himself to save the others. So glorious purpose has been an ongoing kind of, a very popular ongoing phrase associated with the character of Loki. And to see him finally reach that glorious purpose, it feels satisfying to a deeper extent. Like, my heart feels satisfied looking at this character find his glorious purpose. Has Loki ever been like your top favorite characters, Divith?
Oh, yeah. From the beginning, I think Loki has shifted lists, maybe from the best villain in the MCU to probably now one of the best heroes to exist in the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
But he's always been at top, one of the tops at least.
Mm-hmm. To be very honest, I've never liked the character. I mean, I got into the MCU pretty late, so I cannot really say with that
Uh-huh.
much emotion. But Loki has always been somewhere, like, yeah, he's fine. But with the sacrifice in Infinity War, I really think that he leveled up a bit. And with Loki season one and season two, we are getting to a place where I'm actually liking this character. And it's one of the most heroic things I've seen on screen. Escape,
Yeah.
merging with the timelines. It's just the visuals are just stuck in my head. And I think it goes out to the VFX workers who Marvel has
Hmm.
undoubtedly, underserved, that they did such a brilliant job with the visuals and the score that it's stuck in my head right now. That's how good it is. So let's moving on to the tracking of Kangs. What do you think of this newly formed TVA? What the function of it, tracking Kangs and the 616 reference to Quantumania? Why don't you give us your
Hmm.
thoughts on that?
I think it's good that they've started tracking all the variants because all the future projects of the MCU are based on the variants of Kang now, I think. Even if I've heard it right, Deadpool 3 is gonna involve the TVA at a very large scale
Yeah.
to try and recruit people to fight against Kang
hmm
and the Council of Kangs.
hmm
So I think uh, it was good to see this reference, the 616. But I'm still really confused on what No Way Home did and what Across the Spider-Verse acknowledged it to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember Miguel going Spider-Man and Doctor Strange from the timeline
Right. Right.
199? Yeah, yeah.
Doctor Strange and
So
the
and
Nerd back on Earth 19999. I remember that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's pretty confusing. I don't know if it's the studios or maybe just a mistake, but it's good to see them getting up now.
hmm See, the problem is as when the multiverse saga was starting, many people said it's a Pandora's box. You open it, there's no going back. And I think they have opened
Mhm.
that Pandora's box. They need to play in this, but they're not sure how to play in it. And the disconnectedness is only frustrating because projects like WandaVision and Loki, they prove that,
Yeah,
they can be such good storytelling for these characters. But there are also projects like Multiverse of Madness and No Way Home. Multiverse of Madness being a somewhat okay movie which ruined Wanda's arc, and No Way Home
yeah.
being a good movie but totally going against the time travel and multiverse rules of what TVA was setting up. So they are
Hmm.
going in all these interesting directions, but there's no coordination, I believe. So until that comes in and until they get back to the track of telling good stories, character driven stories like WandaVision and Loki, I don't think
Uh,
Phase 5 or any of the following phases is going to have any effect on the audience. And Loki Season two's viewership, I think, is a testament to how much they have failed, considering the Endgame. If you remember, people going for
yeah,
3
yeah,
a.m. shows for Endgame, like that was the
yeah.
hype and craze. How did it drop down so much? But I think Loki season two is a step in the good direction. Let's just complete off this episode with Renslayer, right? Renslayer,
Hmm.
I'm not sure, but she was an interesting character. Where they left her in season one was very interesting. And the
Hmm.
fact that they chose to show her before the final shot, I would like to believe that was uh, not the tree. And yeah, one more thing before we close this topic. Did you recognize that the timelines that Loki had now formed around him forms the,
Uh-huh.
tree from Norse mythology?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
That was
Of
such a good
the Tree of the
reference.
Nine Realms. I don't remember the name, but it
Yeah,
was such a good
it's a very
reference.
hard name to pronounce, but yeah, that was a very good reference. And Renslayer could either be looking at the tree in front of her or could be looking at Alayat, who, as we remember from, I believe, episode
Hmm.
3 or 4, where, Miss Minutes reveals that Renslayer was the one who helped He Who Remains defeat Alayat or tame Alayat
Yeah,
in a way. So I hope it's not Alayth eating Renslayer, but it's Renslayer getting control of Alayth, and we get to see, this heroic version of Renslayer maybe take over the TVA
maybe.
so that our Loki can be free or something. What do you think? How could that play out? Was it even necessary to show what happens to her, or do you think they left it there for a reason?
I believe that was the reason. It was probably a tease for what's coming.
hmm
And I think most definitely she's gonna tame Alioth.
hmm
And I
Season
don't think
three
she's
or
returned in
Avengers?
Avengers. There's no season three. I mean,
Oh,
if
sad.
they if there's a season three after this, it's just gonna ruin the ending.
I think yes. Like, where do you go unless you
Yeah.
have a good story? But at the track record at which
Uh-huh.
they have gone, Maybe
Yeah.
I would give them a chance, but I'm not sure if it could be that good. But I agree.
No, but
Vince
with the
will,
makers of Loki, there is a little bit of hope if they go for a season three, but they
yeah,
shouldn't. It'll just take away from what the finale gave us.
yeah. I think it should directly lead into a Avengers story. But seeing that
Yeah.
Avengers is going to be pushed maybe 2030 or even the next decade, I'm not sure I would be willing to wait for so long to see what happens with Loki and the other characters that we like. Speaking of that, like Kang Dynasty has set up a lot of adversaries, like for Kang to fight. He was, of course, Kang the Conqueror was introduced in Quantumania, so maybe Ant-Man could be that character that has a light history with Kang. But now we have
Uh-huh.
Loki, who has gone up against at least two variants of Kang, and maybe he would go up against the main version of Kang in Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. But do you
Maybe.
think Loki will play a major role in defeating Kang, or how do you think that would play out, given where Loki is right now?
Right now, from where I think the first move that Marvel would do is either freeing Loki from the responsibility he has of physically holding the timelines together, maybe,
Yeah,
giving him time to use his powers and maybe, set up a better
yeah,
system, or
yeah.
maybe drive him to find a replacement.
I think that would cheapen, like how bringing back this OG6 Avengers that's being discussed right now would
Uh-huh.
cheapen all the emotions we felt for each of them in Endgame. Doing
Yeah,
anything of the
I
sort of replacing Loki right there would cheapen his
uh-huh.
sacrifice that he made at the end of this episode. So
Exactly.
as you rightly said, I think freeing him from the responsibility of physically holding the timelines on sitting on the throne, whereas it's a really good parallel that you wanted the throne and now he's sitting on the throne. I would like to
Mhm.
see him move about maybe in that place and be able to help out our Avengers in one of the next Avengers movies. Somehow,
Yeah,
I want him to be there with that responsibility because I don't want to take away that responsibility for him, but I don't want him to be tied down, as you said, with the physical nature of being there. Maybe he finds a way to,
yeah,
control that
maybe,
while
most
staying away.
probably.
Yeah, and I was watching one of these YouTube videos where one of my favorite YouTubers mentioned that Marvel has just benched two of their most powerful magic characters who just got some awesome headgear and costumes. Obviously, referencing to Loki and Wanda. Wanda was left
Uh-huh.
at a very unknown status at the end of Multiverse of Madness while
Yeah.
she brought down Mount Wondagore on her, and the new tie-in book which details the back BTS of Marvel Studios said that Wanda is dead and now Loki is
No,
stuck somewhere,
no way.
sitting on a throne. I don't
Yeah.
feel good about these developments, considering I've grown to love Wanda so much, and now I love Loki so
Mhm.
much. How do you see this? Like, do you like this ending? Does it leave a sour taste in your mouth knowing that Loki has to sit there? How do you look at this ending from this angle? Like, you may not get to see these characters maybe until 2030 or whenever the next Avengers movies come.
It does make you feel for the character and how long he's come.
Hmm.
And but both of these characters are $1 billion sitting right there, so I don't think they're gonna be
Exactly.
abandoned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And if the analysts are true, Wanda is coming back in Deadpool 3,
hmm,
hopefully.
I hear that's not the case. I hear she's coming back in Agatha, House of Harkness, in a very small role, and that's actually
Uh-huh.
disappointing. Yeah, so it's actually so sad to see how the most popular or the most beloved characters or the characters that are showing the most potential right now are being benched while we get more new characters introduced to the MCU, and things are just looking bleak when we look outside of Loki and shows like WandaVision. So with
Hmm.
the Marvels like in theaters currently, I hope it starts a new chain of positivity. Though it's ironical to say a movie that has so much hatred will start some positive reaction. But I'm really hoping that at least Deadpool 3, which is rumored to be a very good movie, will start some kind of a positive chain reaction in the audience and we're able to get back to the excitement we had once for MCU, which the general
Yeah.
public had for the MCU once upon a time. And
Hmm.
positive news coming out, Daredevil, Captain America 4, all being pushed to 2025. We have to wait more, but I don't mind waiting more if it means lesser projects like Secret Invasion and more projects like WandaVision and Loki. What do you have to say, Divith?
Yeah, I mean, it's good. At this point, we should go away from the strategy of quantity over quality and stick to quality.
Yeah, I
So,
totally
with
agree.
shows like Echo coming up, Echo, the trailer was amazing,
Yeah,
and
amazing trailer.
yeah,
But do we
and
really
that's
need that
the,
is the question.
I mean, that's their strategy as far as I've heard. They're going in for more character-driven story rather than
Mhm.
pushing the story of the whole universe ahead. Maybe
But
that's every
I
fan
agree
needs
with
right.
that. Echo
Uh,
seems to be very character driven, but with a Daredevil having 18 episodes to fill in, I agree with
uh,
all other people who say that Echo could have easily fit in, or Echo's story could have easily fit into Daredevil, with Kingpin also being a major character in Daredevil. So they could have filled in the episodes as well as told Echo story. It's not like you need to abandon Echo's story, but we didn't need another project for that. So I am kind of divided on that, but I think we all agree quality over quantity is what we are looking for. And if Echo turns
yeah,
out to be good, I don't think any of us have any issue with it. We'll all be singing praises of it anyways. So before we round off this episode, I would just like to ask you, do you have anything at all that you want to say about the future of Loki, Kang, or the multiverse?
I mean, if we get into speculation, it'll again be like the Mephisto situation we had back in WandaVision. So,
Absolutely.
yes,
I'm
yeah, it's
actually
best
bummed
not
that
to say
Mephisto
anything.
didn't show up.
Uh,
Yeah, best not to say with the ongoing delays and all that, but I hope
yeah,
we don't abandon the storyline that Loki season 2 has set up and we are able to continue from here. Since there's nothing left to say, I think we'll close it at this note. And thank you so much, Divith, for joining me on this episode of Elton Talks. And I hope we get to do this, for some future Marvel projects as well.
sure, sure.
So I think this wraps up the episode, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. And until then, love
Love
you
you 3000.
3000.